Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 19th, and right now we're looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. Check out this storm out over the Gulf of Alaska. Strong atmospheric river associated with it will be moving into southeast Alaska, western BC, but it will be weakening as it moves across western BC into the Pacific Northwest over the next few days. We'll take a look at those details because we still have some big model disagreement on how much precipitation is going to bring across the area. And of course, we will look at the extended forecast as we go through the video here today. Take a look at the current hazards. Wind advisories kind of wrapping up here as we go through the evening and nighttime hours. You can still see some wind advisories across some Idaho there as well. Some winter weather advisories also should be wrapping up as we go on in through tomorrow. This is the wind gusts here that we've gotten since last night into this morning. It's pretty windy spots there across some of Vancouver Island to the upper 50s here. Looks like Whidbey Island checked in at 46. You can see probably towards 40 miles per hour for the peak on the Washington coast. Looks like Boeing Field checked in at 31. Looking at some of the southern Washington Cascades East slopes, pretty good winds there, 62 miles per hour, 48 for Yakima there, and some gusty winds across some of eastern Oregon also. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station to record the wind that you get at your house, click on that link down below to save 10% off. It's got a nice lightning detection system with it as well. Great smartphone app. Now, taking a look at the European, this is hot off the presses, the 18Z run, and I want to show you the kind of the winds that are going to be wrapping up as we go through the evening and overnight hours finally, and that will be pushing off to the east there. I think you see the next frontal system here with some strong southerlies and southeasterlies out ahead of that, kind of moving up towards Haida Gwaii there, and a clip in the northern portion of Vancouver Island. But you can see as this frontal system approaches the Pacific Northwest, it will be weakening quite rapidly. And look at that kind of interesting wind shift there. You get the north winds meeting with the south winds, kind of marking that frontal passage as it moves down the coastline. And these north winds could be getting strong here at times down the coastline. So you'll notice that wind shift out there as well, but kind of interesting watching that as we go on in through Thursday morning. Now, taking a look at 24-hour running total precipitation. This is the European on the left versus the GFS on the right. Let's put this into motion, and you can see the precip that's kind of been wrapping up as we go through the nighttime hours. Next system on its way. You can see it spread across Vancouver Island down towards Washington, and look at this massive model disagreement as we go on in through the midweek here. Look at the European, a very rainy period there for Seattle, about over an inch, but the GFS with much less here. So this is a very low confidence forecast as of right now. And you can kind of see that narrow band of the heavier precipitation out there towards Cape Disappointment, across Seattle, and into some of the central and northern Cascades, with the GFS with much lower precipitation amounts, decent amounts on the coastline there. But you can clearly see the discrepancy that we're working with here. So we'll be sure again to check in with this tomorrow as always. But you can see that frontal system finally come across the area from northwest towards southeast. But the European is definitely wetter. So it'll be interesting to see how that trends as we go on in through tomorrow. Here's Whidbey Island showing about 1/3 of an inch with that. And then you can see as we go off into the extended towards the end of November, you can see maybe some systems starting to return here. More on that here in a moment as we go through the extended forecast. Bellingham International Airport, 4/10 of an inch showing up here. And again, this would be on the day Wednesday. And we get a break, and then maybe some storms try to return here at the end of November into early December. But a lot can change here day to day as we look off into the future. Looking at Seattle Tacoma, the control as of this morning had about 1/2 inch there. So that was probably an upgrade there on the 18Z run. And yeah, you can see that. And then maybe the return of some systems towards the end of the month. Looking at Hoquiam out there on the Washington coast as well, you can see that precipitation, and then we get a break. Now, looking at this atmospheric river, you can see it is strong for the time being, but as it approaches southeast Alaska, western BC, you'll notice it is clearly weakening. And by the time it gets across Vancouver Island, it's losing a lot of its punch, moves across some of the Pacific Northwest. It still could bring some interesting precipitation amounts, but it's definitely not going to be a huge flooding concern or anything of that nature. So you can see it completely falls apart as it comes down across Oregon as we go way off into what this would be on November 23rd there. So yeah, clearly falling apart. So this system is going to be weakening rapidly. It's a pretty impressive storm right now, but yeah, it's going to be dying off. Now taking a look at the 24-hour total snow. This is the snow that's been falling here. This is the 24-hour rain total. As you can see that wrapping up. And then we head off towards this next system. You can see it's not bringing much snowfall here. Maybe a few inches for the North Cascades, BC, some of the Rockies, Idaho Panhandle here also. Maybe just a trace or very light amounts across some of the Cascades. Maybe an inch or two across the Blue Mountains there. And we'll watch this here as we go into tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see which model is going to win out this round between the European and the GFS. Looking at the GFS 18Z run, you can see the system moving through here. And we're building this ridge out in front of this next storm. That's the one with the strong atmospheric river. There'll be weakening that comes across the area as we go on into Tuesday and Wednesday coming up. But you can see this kind of persistent ridging showing up with this troughing across some of the interior west here, the Intermountain West. And this persistent ridging continues to show up. Look at this GFS ensemble mean here. This goes all the way towards November 27th with a ridge right on our doorstep here. And honestly, I'd probably rather see that at this time of year versus maybe January, because maybe we can get some interesting weather. Maybe it will make up for it as we go through November or December on into January and February. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, anyway, this can still change. We're kind of taking things with a grain of salt. We're looking pretty far out. This is 10 days out, for example, right now. Looking at the GFS, you can see that storm system out over the Gulf of Alaska. You got Washington, Oregon here. Put this into motion. You can see our system. It went through this morning, last night, sliding off to the east there. Then you can see that precip sag south across the region, which according to the GFS is going to be a decaying front and quite rapidly as it moves across the area. And then we get that bit of a break, high pressure setting up over some of BC down through Montana here. Would really dry us out here. And you can, again, see some high pressure coming down, mainly east of the Rockies, and then maybe a system as we go on into the early portion of the following week. But again, you take that with a grain of salt. You're looking too far out at this point. And then the Gulf of Alaska storms start to get ramped up again here when you look off the fantasy land of the GFS. But we'll continue to watch that as we go day by day. This is looking at 6 to 10 day precipitation probability outlook. And look at this strong signal for below normal precipitation here as we go on towards the end of November. This is the 6 to 10 day temperature and kind of cool and dry pattern shaping up here. And we'll monitor things to see if this is going to set up for a prolonged foggy period, which can happen here across the Pacific Northwest at this time of year anyway. But yeah, I went out this last night and this morning, Cape Disappointment out there, watched the wind a little bit out there and watched some nice waves and whatnot. There's actually some people surfing along the coastline out there, if you can believe that. Pretty crazy out there. Some nice showers rolled by as well, some nice scenes. But yeah, anyway, I'll do my normal briefing as always tomorrow. That's the reason, by the way, why this video is coming out at about, 5:30 p.m. Here on Sunday. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. We'll do this again tomorrow. We'll check everything out again, and I will talk to you guys then.